Hello, everyone, and welcome to this presentation on applying to university and the UCAS process. If you'd like to see a video on personal statements, it will be the next video. So in this presentation, we're only going to be discussing the what, when, why, and how of applications and what makes a successful application, and then I'll do a separate video on personal statements. So the what, so if you are applying for university, you'll be using a platform called UCAS, and this stands for University, College and Admissions Service. Why do we use UCAS? Why do people submit their applications through UCAS? So essentially it saves time for schools and colleges and universities, and it makes the process more fair. And essentially what it is just a single online application that gets submitted and then sent to your 5 choices. So I thought it would be helpful to also put some key deadlines, and this is for 2025 entry. So if you're applying for entry now, if you are going to apply for 2026 entry, I haven't put the deadlines for this on here, so double check them. But broadly speaking, they stay quite similar each year, so it will be around these dates. So first of all, between June and September of the year that you're applying, you should be thinking about researching and shortlisting your 5 choices for your application. Your research can really start whenever you want it to. You know, if you're in year 12 currently and you are thinking about university and where you want to go, you can definitely start looking. The earlier the better, narrowing down those choices, because there is a lot of choice. And then if you were going to apply for medicine, dentistry, veterinary science, or you're applying to Oxford or Cambridge, then you would have needed to have submitted your application by October 15th. So this deadline has now passed. Obviously, if you're applying for 2026 entry, then this deadline would be different, but it is still in October. So people applying for these subjects tend to start thinking about their applications a little bit earlier and might have to do slightly different things for applications, but broadly speaking, for the rest of the subjects that universities offer, your deadline would be January 25th, 2025. So this is again for 2025 entry, but it's usually in the last week of January is the deadline. But double check what your school or sixth form or college's deadline is, and you should always abide by that deadline, because they will need to have your application in for various reasons, you know, checking over the application, writing their teacher reference, things like that. You can actually submit your application after the January deadline. It just means that your application isn't considered for equal consideration, basically. And then between November and March, this is when you'll start hearing back from universities. So if you submitted it in January, it will probably be around March or by March. And you'll start getting responses from those universities. If you've been made an offer from a university, they will then invite you to one of their admissions or applicant visit days. I get questions about whether or not it's worth attending an applicant visit day, and I definitely think it is. They tend to happen between January and April. They are similar to an open day, but they are different. And if you are thinking, I've attended an open day, why should I go to an applicant day? I would say definitely go. It's going to help you narrow down what that final choice is on your application. But they are very more sort of department focused, and you'll spend a lot more time in your schools and speaking to academics and students. You'll also have things like taster lectures, so you can get a real taste of what being a student would be like. And then by May, so it's around the end of May, I think the deadline is, applicants need to have made their final decision on what their firm choice is. Equally, towards the end of May, you need to have submitted your application for student finance if you are going to be taking out tuition and maintenance fee loans. This is just to ensure that the funding is in place in time, so you can still apply after the deadline, but you might not get your sort of loans when you start your course, for example. And you also don't have to know exactly where you're going to university, so you can change your mind and then alter your application, but it's just getting that application in. That's the main thing. And then in August, that's when confirmation and clearing happens. So on results day, you'll finally get confirmation about whether or not you've been placed at that university. And then if you are unsuccessful, you can be entered into clearing. And then the start of the academic year. So when does university actually start? It starts in September/October. So usually the last week of September or the first week of October is when your sort of freshers week will be. In terms of what your application consists of, it consists of personal details. So, for example, like where you live, your address, your predicted and your actual grades. So, your actual grades could be qualifications that you've already got, for example, GCSEs, or if you've done any AS levels, if you've got your EPQ result, things like that. And then your predicted grades are sort of essential to your application. And you've got the personal statement, which is obviously a big bulk of your application, and then the teacher's reference. You have 5 choices that you can put on UCAS, so 5 universities. You're only allowed to put 5 choices, and this is why that research going into your application is so important, because there are so many universities in the UK, and there's even more courses that you can pick from. So the earlier you sort of start that research and start going to open days and things like that, the easier you're going to find this decision. This doesn't really apply if you are applying for medicine, dentistry, veterinary medicine and veterinary science. So you actually get 4 main degree choices for those subjects. So you can apply to 4 places that do that specific degree, and then you can choose 1 other degree. So you could apply to 4 places for dentistry and then 1 for psychology or something like that. You also cannot apply for both Oxford and Cambridge. You can apply for either or. So what makes a successful application? Number 1, your predicted grades. This is what primarily we use to make the decision on whether or not we make you an offer, but we will also look at your teacher's reference and your personal statement. So how do you sort of make your choice? How do you narrow down to those 5 choices? I've put some advice on the slides here. So number 1, research online. There's loads of great places that you can use to research online. I've just put a few on here. So obviously look at ucas.com. On there you can see all the courses or all the universities that do your chosen course. Also take a look at the university web pages, so the individual university web pages. These are really, really helpful, especially Sussex's. So on Sussex's undergraduate webpage, you can see all the courses related to a specific subject. If you click on a course, you can also see a little overview of that course, the entry requirements, and then it sort of breaks it down, what you'd be doing each year. So you can see all the modules, basically all the topics that you get to do. If you click on a module, it will tell you about that module and also how that module is going to be assessed. So the breakdown of like coursework versus exams, but also how it will be taught. So if it's loads of lectures, if it's loads of practicals, labs, seminars, workshops. So you can really see if that course is sort of tailored to your strengths. And this is what makes the courses at universities differ, is what they're teaching, how they're teaching it, even who's teaching it, which again you can see on the web pages. So definitely check those out. And also prospectuses as well. You can get given these at things like HE fairs, UCAS fairs, open days, and they will just have more information about the uni in. I remember having like a bookshelf of prospectuses when I was making my decision. The second thing you can do is attend open days. This is my biggest piece of advice when you're making your choices. So in terms of when Sussex's are, our next open day is on the 7th of June, and then we've got 2 in October, so the 4th of October and the 18th of October. And this would be if you were applying for 2026 entry. If you're applying for 2025 entry, then our open days have passed and you'd be looking at attending the applicant days. Attending the open day was essential in my decision to come to Sussex. I didn't even think I'd be going to Sussex until I went to the open day, and I sort of instantly fell in love. It sounds a bit cliche, but you do get a sort of, you just kind of can tell whether or not a university is sort of your vibe and whether the people is kind of your people. And I feel like only going to that university do you know whether or not it's the right place for you. I also recommend attending UCAS fairs and HE fairs, so higher education fairs, which your school or college might be putting on. It's your opportunity at these to go and sort of speak one-on-one with someone. So this could be somebody who works at the university from recruitment, or someone from admissions. It could also be a current student there. So you do get those really good, like, personalised conversations, and you can basically ask them anything. They're more than happy to be spoken to. You can also get loads of literature, like prospectuses, postcards, bookmarks, whatever, and loads of freebies as well if you're lucky. And then also consider the grade and subject requirements. So at Sussex, we typically ask for 2 A's and a B, which ranges to 2 B's and a C. And then our contextual offers are 2 B's and a C to 1 B and 2 C's. So every university will have sort of different entry requirements, but this is what Sussex typically ask for. But double check your individual course. Some courses have specific subject requirements as well, so they might require you to have done a specific A level. For example, medicine requires you to have biology and chemistry at Sussex, or a specific GCSE grade. So also double check that, because you don't want to be using up one of your choices on somewhere that you're not eligible to apply for. And then in terms of what offers you'd be receiving from those universities, so between November and March, you can get an unconditional offer. So this essentially means the place is yours. This is quite common for people that already have their grades. You can also get an unconditional offer if you haven't got your grades yet, and it's just purely based on your application and your predicted grades. So yeah, as I said, it's usually when you meet the entry requirements, but it doesn't always have to be. But you do also need to check the offer carefully. So it might be conditional on you still doing certain things. For example, maybe your course requires you to have a DBS check. It might also be the case that you have to firm that university, so put that university as your firm choice for the offer to be unconditional. So always double check your offer. And then the most common sort of offer you can receive is a conditional offer. So this means that you'd get a place on that course if you meet the required conditions. So you will have to wait for results day. So a typical conditional offer could look something like this. We might say that you need 2 A's and a B with an A in maths if you're applying for a mathematics course, and then you'd be placed on that course on results day. And then finally, you could also get an unsuccessful. So that means you have not been made an offer or withdrawn. So either you or the university have withdrawn the application. And there are things you can do if you don't hear back from any of your choices, or you've been unsuccessful at your choices, and you can use UCAS Extra. So this essentially allows you to add another choice. You can use UCAS Extra if you've included 5 choices on your application and you've either declined those choices or were not accepted at those. So it's not the end of the world if you are not accepted at any of your choices. And then in terms of your decision, you can narrow down your 5 choices to 1 choice and an insurance choice if you'd like to. So a firm choice is your first choice. It's where you want to go to university. So make sure your firm choice is your number 1. And then you have the option to also put an insurance choice. So often when people put an insurance, they will put a maybe lower tariff university, or they may have been made an offer from one of their choices that's lower and maybe more. They know that they would get that on results day, so it's kind of like a safety net. So this should be your reserve choice. You do need to make sure you're happy to go to this university, because if come results day you don't meet the requirements of your firm choice, you'd get placed hopefully at your insurance choice. So make sure equal amounts of research go into this choice. Equally, you don't have to put one. So in my case, I didn't put one. I knew that I wanted to go to Sussex or nothing. And what that meant is, if I didn't meet the requirements on the day or didn't meet the conditions of the offer, I would have been entered straight into their clearing system. So I wouldn't have had to call up my insurance and been asked to get released. I could have just gone straight in there. So it's up to you what you do, but you do have a reserve choice if you want one. And then with regards to results day, so first of all, I'd want to speak about the embargo period. So just to make you aware, there is a period of time where universities are given early access to results. And what this means is that applications will not be updated. You won't see any updates on UCAS. Your advisor portal will not be updated. and universities and colleges won't be able to discuss any applicants' individual status. So you can't call up a university and sort of say, oh, I'm predicted 2As, I'm really worried about getting onto the course, do you think I'm going to be fine? They won't be able to give you an answer. So just bear that in mind. If you do want to discuss your application, it would be worth calling in maybe the week before the embargo period occurs. And the embargo period lasts until results day typically. So this is when the 2025 embargo period is. So for Scottish results, for SQA results, the embargo period is the 29th of July to the 6th of August, so when their results day is. And then for all other results, so for most of you guys in England, the JCQ results embargo is between the 9th of August and the 15th of August. So on results day, your results will be released from 8 a.m. You might find that you wake up and you see that you've been placed on your firm choice before you even get your results. So some universities may have already made this decision. So that's quite nice to wake up to. And results day this year, or for 2025 applicants, is the 14th of August. With regards to what types of confirmation decisions you can get the conditions have been met. So on results day, you've met the conditions. So that means you've been placed at your firm choice. Your application will display confirmation and any further action that needs to be taken. And if you go to Advisor Portal, you can see that the final place has been accepted, and you just need to put final place accepted. You can also meet your conditions but actually exceed what you expected to do. So this means you've done better than you've expected, in which case you can accept your place at your firm choice, or you can decline your place and go through clearing and see if you can get into a higher tariff university, or one that's initially asked for higher grades. You may have also not met your conditions, in which case your UCAS application could display that you might be accepted, or that you're still awaiting decisions. So yeah, if this happens, you may still be accepted, but you may need to wait a few days for a decision from that university. So in this case, you might be given a change of course. So some universities might offer you a course that they deem similar to the original course that you applied for, or you might be offered a foundation year. So at Sussex, if you've missed those entry requirements, we will offer you a foundation year if you're eligible. So if you wake up on results day and that course title you don't recognise, it might be because of that. They might even say, can you sort of, you're eligible if you come next year, so they might change your date of entry or point of entry as well. And then finally, you might be unsuccessful, which means you have not been accepted onto your firm or insurance choice, and this means you're entered into clearing. So what is clearing? Essentially, it's how universities fill any places they still have on their course, and clearing is open between July and October. So you're eligible to apply for clearing if you're applying after the 30th of June. Typically, people who are applying in July are people who might already have their results, who didn't really think about going to university, who probably haven't done a UCAS application, who just wanted to see if they could sort of get in. But, in most cases, you're calling up on results day after having been unsuccessful or exceeding your results. You can also apply if you did not receive any offers or none that you wanted to accept. You can apply if you did not meet your offer conditions, and you can also apply if you've declined your firm place. And how it kind of works is, what you do is start searching for vacancies on UCAS for the course that you want to do. You then need to call up the university to check there are still places available. So every university will have some sort of clearing hotline that you need to call up on the day. And then we can tell you whether or not, yes, there's a place still available, or if there's a similar course kind of available, and if you're eligible, if you meet the requirements. You then need to, having spoken to whoever's on the phone, you need to add that clearing choice in your application on UCAS and fill in the course details that are given to you over the phone. After having done that, and you're, happy to sort of accept that clearing place, you might attend a clearing open day. So Most universities run these, and at Sussex we run these kind of sort of on the day or the days following clearing. They're not as large scale as your normal open day, and they are just for sort of clearing applicants, and this is to help you feel more at ease with the idea of coming here, because clearing can be quite stressful for quite a few people. And on these days you can chat to staff, you can chat to academics, you can talk to students. Last year we were showing some accommodation and we had a talk from housing, so they're really good days to come to, just to help you feel a bit more at ease. And yeah, that's everything for me regarding applications. If you do need more information, you can visit our website at sussex.ac.uk/study/applying. You can also talk to our students and staff on UniBuddy, and you can follow us on the following social media. But thank you very much for listening, and good luck to all of those who are currently completing their applications. As I said, if you did want to see a video on personal statements, we do have a separate video on personal statements, which you can watch after this one.